Because we won 1 out of the last 6 popular votes for president. If it weren't for something called the Electoral College, we wouldn't have won 1 of the other times. So 1 out of 6 popular votes, we've won. So it's fair to say, well, is it the message? No, it's not the message. Well, that leaves a messenger, and it leaves the manner in which we communicate. And we're going to talk about the messenger in a second, but I do want to tell you this. While Andy was making A's in school, I was making C's. So he went to medical school and I went to law school. And I spent 16 years standing in front of 12 people who were not smart enough to get out of jury service. That's how I made a living. They didn't know the judge, they didn't know the sheriff, they didn't know the clerk of court. They couldn't get out of jury service. And I had to convince them beyond a reasonable doubt. And I had to convince all 12. 10 to 2 is great in politics. It's lousy if you're a prosecutor. 52% gets you reelected in politics. It gets you a hung jury in my line of work. So how do you persuade? You have to have a relationship with the person you're trying to persuade. You have to have facts, you have to have evidence, but you have to have credibility. And you have to have a relationship with the person you are trying to persuade. How many of you have been married for more than 30 minutes? How many of you have ever insulted your spouse into changing his or her mind? It does not work in my household, and I am terrified to try. I don't think it works. What happens when somebody insults you? You sit there and make a mental note that I don't care how long it takes, I will never agree that you're right because you insulted me. I mean, your coworkers, you're trying to persuade your coworkers to do something. You don't insult them. You're trying to persuade the people you go to church with to do something. How do you persuade? If it works in every other facet of life, why don't we try it in politics? I'm not saying surrender any deeply held conviction. I'm saying be smart about the way that we try to get people who were not with us last election to get with us this election. Young people. Look, I've told my kids, if it means me supporting the legalization of marijuana to get your vote, I'm just not going to get your vote. I'm just not going to get it. Now, young people do care about privacy. They care about how we as a culture strike that balance between public safety and privacy. Are we persuasive when we talk to young people? Are we do not do well among female voters? Are we persuasive when we talk to them? Is our method and manner of communication calculated to reach? I'm not talking about changing the message. I'm talking about changing the way in which we message. Be persuasive. Communicate. I didn't take statistics, but 1 out of 6 I think is a trend. You want to fix the Attorney General's office? Change who the Attorney General is. You've got some Supreme Court justices who are kind of long in the tooth. Every time I see some of them dip their head, I don't know if it's a nap or something worse. Who's going to pick the next Supreme Court justices? They are if we don't figure out how to win.